Jesus' use in today's text of the word command got me to thinking about what the most difficult commandment in the Bible might be. Perhaps it's don't make any graven images. Well, we do that one all the time. Remember the Sabbath? Maybe. Avoid house envy? That's kind of hard with all the home reno shows on TV, isn't it? I really struggle with that one, I have to say. I'd like to propose that the most difficult commandment is the one that Jesus gave the disciples in this week's gospel reading. This is my commandment, he tells them shortly before he's arrested and crucified, that you love one another as I have loved you. Why do I call this commandment difficult? Well, when you think about it, can we be ordered to love? Does love obey decrees? My guess is most of us would say no. Shaped as we are by Hollywood or Jane Austen novels or romantic poetry, we usually think of love as spontaneous and free-flowing. We fall in love. Love is blind. Love happens at first sight. It breaks our hearts, and its course is often a roller coaster of emotions. Even if we put aside our culture's hokey cliches, we know that authentic love can't be manipulated or simulated or rushed without suffering serious distortion. Those who have ever spent any time with children understand full well that commanding them to love one another never works. The most we can do is insist that they behave as if they love each other. Things like share your toys, say you're sorry, don't hit, use your words, your kind words. But these actions, often performed with gritted teeth and rolling eyes, are not the same as what Jesus is talking about in John's gospel. Jesus doesn't say, perhaps unfortunately for us, act as if you love. He doesn't give his disciples or us the easy out of doing nice things with clenched hearts. When I think about it, I wouldn't want him to, because nothing feels as hollow as a, quote, loving act performed mechanically. Moreover, I doubt that the people who flocked to Jesus would have done so if they had sensed that his compassion was thin or forced. He says, love as I have loved you, as in for real, as in the whole bona fide package. Authentic feeling, honest engagement, generous action. Honestly, does it not sound like he's asking for the impossible? And maybe he is. G.K. Chesterton once wrote that the Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting, it has been found difficult and left untried. Imagine what would happen to us, to the church, to the world, if all Christians all over the world took this commandment of Jesus seriously. What could the world look like if we obeyed orders and cultivated this, quote, impossible love? I ask these questions fearfully because I don't know how to answer them even for myself. I mean, we know fairly well how to do the stuff, right? How to do things. We can make care packages for the unhoused, and we can be polite, and we can bring dessert to the church potluck, and we can send e-transfers or checks to our favorite charities. But do we know how to love as Jesus loved? To feel the depth of compassion that's gut-punching, to experience a hunger for justice so fierce and so urgent that we rearrange our lives in order to pursue it, to empathize until our hearts break. Do we want to? I don't think so. Really, that sounds too hard. Most of the time, if we're honest, we don't. We want to be safe. We want to keep our circle small and manageable. And we want to choose the people we love based on our affinities and preferences, not on Jesus' all-inclusive commandment. And all of that is perfectly natural. Charitable actions could be easy, right? Can be easy, but cultivating our hearts and preparing and pruning them to love, becoming vulnerable in authentic ways to the world's pain, those things are hard and costly. So what can we do? Where do we begin? Well, Jesus offers a single, depending on your perspective, straightforward answer. He says, abide in my love. Now, you may be hearing echoes from last week's message, and that's good. I hope there's some echoes happening. Following on the heels of last week's reading, Jesus extends the metaphor of the vine and the branches and calls us once again to abide, to rest or to cling, to make ourselves at home, not simply in him, but in his love. I wonder whether part of our difficulty is that we often treat Jesus as a role model and then despair when we can't live up to his high standards. But abiding in something is not the same as emulating it. In the vine and branches metaphor, Jesus' love is not our example, it's our source. It's where our love originates and deepens, where it replenishes itself. In other words, if we don't abide, we can't love, not as Jesus did. Jesus' commandment to us is not that we wear ourselves out, trying to conjure love from our own easily depleted resources. Rather, it's that we abide in the holy place where human love becomes possible, that we make our home in, dwell in Jesus' love. For Christians, the most abundant and inexhaustible love in existence. And to dwell in Jesus' love, we have to spend time with him. We have to engage in whatever spiritual practices help us to draw closer to the divine presence. As is so often the case in our lives as Christians, Jesus' commandment leads us straight into paradox. We are called to action via rest, called to become love as we abide in love. The commandment, or better yet, the invitation, is to drink our fill of this source, which is Christ, then spill over to bless the world, and then return to the source for fresh infilling. This is our movement. This is our rhythm, our dance, over and over again. This is where we begin and end and begin again. Love one another as I have loved you, and abide in my love. These are finally not two separate actions. They are one and the same. Yeah? This, quote, impossible commandment becomes possible in relationship with the divine for the repair of the world. May it be so for you and for me. Amen. We pause for a moment of reflection.